Hello there, it's Mike.
And Katie.
And this is episode 121. And what are we talking about this week, Katie?
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
On this week of Cup of Rad. Hey everyone, we're back. And
you were so formal and like, hello.
Well, you know.
It's impressive.
It's classy.
We're classy and professional today.
Yeah, it's the classy episode.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's all class.
New to me, but sure.
All class and no sass.
Ooh.
On this episode of Cup of Rad.
Okay, I'll control myself.
Sure. So,
hi everyone.
Hey, how's it going? Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're doing marvelous. Hopefully wherever you are.
Fantabulous even.
You're sitting there going with the us in your ears and going, yeah.
Life is good now.
Life is good.
Life is better.
Whatever you're drinking. Yeah, it's Cup of Rad After Dark today.
Yeah.
We're toasting Zack Snyder's Justice League. 4-hour epic. 4-hour epic. 4-hour epic. This week we're going to be dissecting the Justice League film. I was going to say we're dissecting the Justice League, huh? Yeah, we're going to dissect it all.
Sweet.
And not much more. Not much more.
No, we got a little bit extra. We got.
So what's you know what? Here, I'm going to start with Cup of Rage moment for a bit. Hopefully it changes. But I found out that Warner Brothers has decided to put Godzilla vs. Kong, which throws a giant wrench in our next week's episode, in theaters in Canada. That being said, every theater is closed and restrictions are that theaters are closed.
Yeah, they're provincially not allowed to operate. So there, I think, are two somewhere in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, when I put it into the major theater that is in Canada, it was like Saskatoon, and it sold out for a week. So
yeah, but yeah, in province, movie theaters are still restricted. So yeah, that is not cool at all.
Smooth.
We were really
moves,
looking forward to watching it,
right?
And
kind of kills my vibe, kind of kills my buzz, because
it really does, because we can't have buzz.
Not only was it going to be only in theaters, which would be really difficult, because when the theater did open in our area, it was only 2 seats, and then it was like a space of 4 seats.
Yeah, so one of us would be sitting by ourselves.
Yeah, and which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I could have kind of enjoyed.
Mike's
that.
like, yeah, I'll totally go.
But at the same time, it kind of weird, right?
Yeah,
he'd be sitting from afar, going, "Hello." I'm the weirdo by myself in a 2 seats section. But it comes out on the 25th, but then it in Canada in theaters comes out on the 31st. So half a week later it's coming out.
Yeah, I don't understand this. This is really weird.
Fingers crossed they rectify that and put it either video on demand or through the HBO Crave, like Justice League showed up on.
Yeah.
Makes only sense.
That would be awesome if they do that.
Because we're already paying for that, so.
Right? So yeah, that really kills that buzz.
Yeah, so hopefully it'll figure itself out.
So
in a good way.
please go and rant and rave on social media and stand up for Canada and this lack of being able to see it.
Yeah, Godzilla versus Kong, because, I'll just have to spoil it for everyone then. I'll be that guy. So Warner Brothers don't get no monies. Because they did Canada dirty. So hopefully it's rectified. But besides that, you know what? A good note, though? Well, not a good note. It's a sad note.
Okay.
But Ducktales, 2017 Ducktales, came to an end. It had its big finale the other week. And it was a 90-minute episode, which was kind of cool. It was like a little mini movie.
It was the, Last Adventure?
The Last Adventure, yeah.
And every character was in the episode.
Every character was in the episode.
It's pretty epic.
And at the end of it, it was a pretty satisfying finale.
You teared up a little bit?
You tear up at everything now, don't
I know.
you?
I'm gotten all soft in my old age. It was the cats, actually. The cats ruined me.
The cats ruined
Not my child, the cats.
Wait, with the cats, would it be that they ruined you or made you better?
They made me better. But when you tell me you cried everything in like a way. No, they actually, broke my cold hard shell and made me more human.
So fuzzy and cute and
just like that.
Pretty much.
But yeah, it was really cool to see. It was action and suspense and heart, and it all tied together, and it had some awesome nods to different things. And
the best nod was the tease for Gargoyles.
That was so amazing.
With Keith David playing, if you watch the show, you'll know that there's Manny, the stone-faced horse body creature that's never made any sense. And you find out in the final episode that he is an elder god of some sort.
Yeah.
The horse-faced demon or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he loses his head, and all of a sudden he goes, "I live again!" And wings rip out of his back, and it's Keith David's voice. And then the Gargoyles theme is played.
It was fabulous.
Like, it wasn't Goliath, but
it was as close as they could get.
Apparently, they pushed those, but it was pretty awesome. And then it just made me go, you know what? Someone really needs to make Gargoyles figures.
Yeah.
Like
Super 7.
Well, yeah, that would be cool. I'd be down on that because
they probably would totally make them if they had the opportunity.
I hope they do. They're a little stagnant on their announcements right now. But just Goliath. Like, I don't. The other Gargoyles are amazing, but like, give me an awesome articulated Goliath figure, and I'd be happy.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna. That's a little toy.
Demono would be cool too with them. Like, if you got the two of them together.
Well, yeah. I could rattle a list of the ones that would be cool.
And this one, and this one, and this one.
But I'm trying not to be too picky.
There also was the gummy bear juice showed up in that episode too.
They were bouncing here and there and everywhere.
And
and the whole episode there was high adventure that could be beyond compare. They had, the Rescue Rangers make an appearance again. And, of course, Tailspins. Tailspin had a heavier episode. And before that, there was the episode that actually had the nods to the Wuzzles, which was pretty awesome.
That was cool, yeah. So, we actually went back and found an episode of the Wuzzles on YouTube and watched a little bit of that.
And, I don't understand why Disney hasn't reinvigorated that as a Disney Junior cartoon.
Yeah, because that's what it felt like. It felt like something that would be
it totally was a kid,
and,
like a baby
cool.
cartoon.
I would have had kiddo watch that. Like, it was cool.
So but
there was just recently there was a larger Tailspin Connection episode, which I thought was really awesome, and it was the lesson was cool in it. The idea that if you're good at something, then just rock it. It doesn't have to be what someone else thinks you should be good at.
And being good at something maybe isn't the most exciting, but there's skill. Worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly.
Because not everyone's good at certain things.
Yeah, because we need. Not everyone can just be good at some crazy adventure. We need people that can be good at skillful, basic, steady, but necessity things like flying a plane straight.
Yeah.
Not everyone needs to be adventure,
loop-de-loops. And
so I thought that was a really cool lesson in that one. So,
but definitely DuckTales, if you haven't checked it, check it out. The third season, or the fourth season, or the final season is supposed to be hitting Disney Plus April 30th. So the first ones are on there. So you got time to binge the crap out of those because it's a fantastic show.
That'll be fun to go back and watch it. I really like the growth of Huey, Dewey, and Louie. They were really enjoyable characters, and I loved that they all had their own personalities.
Yes. Yeah,
and in general, like Donald changed and Scrooge changed, and I love that
Donald was just still wearing the sailor outfit that Gumgold had given him when he tried to be a henchman for.
Oh yeah.
Right until the very end.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he just still wore that black sailor suit.
Yeah.
He's just like, how cheap is he? He's like, no, I'm not buying any other clothes. This thing's awesome.
This works. It's in one piece.
Right. So, speaking of Disney, though, the blah, 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 blah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
That premiered this last week.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on that, Katie?
Bit of a slow burn. It's going to be definitely a drama base. Like, there was some good action scenes, but I think, only because I'm going to compare it to WandaVision because it was the, same type of format feel. didn't have the same hook that WandaVision did, where it was like, what's going on? It's like, okay, well, I've watched a bit of it, and I will come back because I like the characters, and there was a little bit of the hook, but at the same time, I was a little let down with it. In its actual portrayal and everything, nothing was wrong with it. Decent characters. I liked with Bucky and him talking about essentially his PTSD from it. Yes, he has his mind back, but he is still scarred and having to deal with knowing that he hurt people and having to rectify that. So that was an interesting story, but it's definitely more dramatic.
Yeah.
So
I was expecting a bigger hook at the end.
Yeah.
Because at the end of it, I just felt angry for Falcon. Like, I just felt angry for Sam because everything just went sideways for him. The thing opens up with him being a kick-ass hero, saving this guy. Then he gives up the shield. Then he goes home. He can't get a loan. And they start watching the news, and they give the shield to someone else. And it was just like a kick in the face. Like, it hurt.
And here I thought we weren't going to spoil it, so okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was watching what I was saying.
Whoopsie. But, it just felt like, so it kind of
I hope it doesn't turn him into some sort of anti-hero feel.
No,
right?
I don't think it will. I think it was going to push him to find out what's right.
Oh, I know.
But, it just was kind of like, man, that stings. Like,
is almost, it is what I can only imagine is a bit of a feel of, in general, military members, though. They're being a hero. They come back to civilian life and they don't have the support, and they just kind of get left out into the dust.
Yeah.
And, they can't really fit in. And when they were talking to the bank, it was, well, how'd you get paid? And how'd you do all this? Well, basically, why don't you have all this money stuck away?
Yeah.
Like, why do you need real, support of a banking system?
Yeah.
Well, it's because I'm a real person still.
Yeah.
So that's,
and then he was
gone
for 5 years.
Yeah, and then there's that. I love that. You don't have income for 5 years. Well, I wasn't here. I had no choice about that.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And I can foresee a bank doing that.
Oh, totally. Totally.
You should have known better. Like,
you should have planned for this.
You should have prepared for it.
If you'd only planned for this.
Now there's a company out there trying to sell insurance for that for your family. Just in case someone goes away again for God knows how long.
Right. Now the new standards isn't going to be what you found out it was like 4 months or something. Now it's going to be like, you must prepare for 5 years.
Of money stuck
6
away.
years of.
Yeah. Life insurance would have been real expensive going forward now.
Right. But it's the action that was in it was stellar.
The opening of it was great.
The hook at the end was, and maybe it's supposed to make you feel that way. You're supposed to feel sad for Sam.
Yeah.
Right. So you're gonna want to see what happens. Like why.
I think I will be back on Friday to watch the second one.
Totally.
I mean, there's not even a question about that, though.
No. Totally.
But it would have. I don't know even at what level it would have had to have been for us not to want to watch it, and I don't think Marvel can actually reach that level. Knocking on wood.
Now you did it. Now you did it.
No. So yeah, that was our TV.
There you go.
There we go. We don't even have any toys. We had no new toys. Look at that.
Oh,
no. Superman? No. We already talked about that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Oh, when was the last time there was an episode without new toys? I'm impressed.
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
You made a trade, and so we have future money to buy things.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I finally read another one of my pony comics, though, that I've been having pile up. I think I have like 5 of them sitting on my side table. Finally read that, and again, reminded how much I love the fact that they have pop culture references. The one pony looked like they were having a musical number, and Zecora looked like Freddie Mercury in his yellow jacket. And then the 4 of them were all dressed up like they look like Kiss, like full on Kiss makeup and outfits, being rock stars. Just totally didn't make sense for what was going on. It was just like that showed up. It was like a dream sequence and then disappeared. And it's awesome.
Yeah. No, I know you really dig that comic.
So the story can be super boring, and then that throws in there and like, yeah, this is why I read it.
Nice.
Anyway, so that's all the other fun stuff that we have.
Yeah, well, so we got, like, up in Canada, HBO is tagged to, it's called a channel called Crave, and we got that in preparation for Zack Snyder's Justice League. We did start checking out Lovecraft Country.
Yes.
And I was pretty hooked with those 2 episodes. So
yeah,
we
thought we'd take advantage of it.
Go forward with that.
That was deep, and like it felt like a movie for sure.
Yeah.
And some of it was not some of it was it was hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
The portrayal of racism.
Yeah.
And what they were up against. Yeah. And that was difficult, but it was very well acted, very weird and twisted, like what is happening, and definitely makes me want to watch more of it.
Yeah, we got 6 episodes left, so I'm curious to see where that goes. So we're probably gonna end up checking out a lot of HBO stuff for next month to get our money's worth of that subscription.
Do you want to have any sort of snippet of the movie we watched on HBO as well? Fantabulous movie. We'll just a quick minute, like 30 seconds. The other movie that because we thought we'd take advantage of it being on HBO was The Birds of Prey and the
Fabulous Emancipation of the One Harley Quinn.
Yeah, that one. Dear God, it's so long. I paraphrased it when I text my mom when I was watching. I was like, Birds of Prey ... Harley Quinn ... But I will say fantabulous because I love that word anyway. But we decided we'd watch that because we hadn't seen it since theater. I'm okay not watching it again.
Yeah,
to be honest, I was bored, and it made me sad that I was so bored. I didn't hate it. No, I wasn't angry. It just was there, right?
Yeah, it goes back to my original feeling. Like it has some fun moments and has some good things, and there's some stellar stuff in there with, Robbie, of course, as Quinn, and I did like Journey Smothers as Black Canary.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't super exciting. It did not fare well on a rewatch.
No. I was just like, okay, well, it is there. I could have easily been doing other things and I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
And that made me sad. Yeah. So here we had a movie that was 109 minutes, and I was like looking at my phone. I was bored. I was like getting antsy, thinking like, what can I be doing? When is this going to be over?
Right? Maybe, was this a bad idea? Crap. Like, what? Why? Versus, we cracked into Zack Snyder's Justice League a few nights prior to that, 4 hours, and I was engaged the entire thing. I don't really...
Well, we already want to watch it again.
Yeah.
So then obviously the 4 hours was not that
Well, we already started we picked it up right in the middle at one point again.
Because it was, we were testing out something. And we just started watching it and we're like, yep. So yeah, that was Harley Quinn. So now, let's go just on to Justice League, man.
Yeah.
Obviously we are interested in it.
Right. So spoilers. Yeah.
Well, sorry, we can't not spoil the heck out of this. So.
Otherwise, it'd be a really short episode. Like, we'd just tap out now.
We could just say, go watch Justice League. Okay, go ahead.
Zack Snyder's Justice League cut is a far superior film to what Warner Brothers and Whedon did to that movie in 2017.
Yeah, they butchered it, to be honest.
That's being nice.
Yeah.
They did things to that movie that
we should
get them allegations now. Because guess what? It did.
Wish it was just figuratively, but
right. They butchered his cut, and what's sad is that this version is probably one of his more cohesive of the 3 that he had made.
Oh, if we bring it in comparison, like the jumpiness of Man of Steel and B versus S that happened, this one had the first thing I noticed was the character development.
Yeah.
And the richness of the story.
Yeah.
Was so much more apparent. It was easy to follow. It flowed nicely, and those are all things you can tell that he learned from the choppiness and the feedback most likely he would have had from the others. But that's what was missing in the theatrical cut was the character development. You could have cared less about Flash and Cyborg, honestly.
In the theatrical. And, you know, which always broke my heart with Flash because he's one of my other than Wonder Woman, my second favorite superhero. And while he wasn't perfect in my opinion for this, in the theatrical, I'm like, okay, well, I'll try to I really actually enjoyed him in Snyder's cut. Yeah. Because he actually had a developed character. You actually cared about him more. You knew about him, and he was so much better of a character and more enjoyable. Yeah. And those were just like huge highlights for me. Well, see, the thing that was nice was it started with a little montage of knowing what had happened. Mm-hmm. We didn't get that weird opening scene with cell phone footage of Superman.
Yes. He didn't smell the fart.
No. But we weren't introduced to our first image of Superman with, you know, a mutant lip, you know, that transcended his own being. It was a sentient entity on his face. Yes. Right? So
the invisible caterpillar.
Right? You know, so right off the bat, like it's a win. But everything, just the stakes were higher and everything. Now, like one scene I know that was pretty goofy that I was sad not to see was the Batman on the rooftop scene. Mm-hmm. And I know why, because it was goofy, and it wasn't, because everything in this movie was not anything that Whedon had reshot. Everything is 100% Snyder. Yeah. So that was interesting. It was interesting to pick out, especially watching it so close to the other, to pick out what was there and what wasn't. Yes. And what was different and how scenes played out.
Would have just definitely been Whedon's for sure.
Yeah, right? And how things kind of really did play out. You know, with the Flash alone, I can say is that, you know, the best thing for it was that he was confident in his superpowers.
Yeah, he wasn't a total goofball. Yeah. He wasn't all questioning about everything. He wasn't...
Well, he never had to have that pep talk with Batman.
He was so much more enjoyable and confident. He wasn't a bumbling idiot, honestly. Yeah. You know, and it's one thing for him to be a slightly silly and have a sense of humor. Yeah. But he was obnoxious in the theatrical, quite honestly. Mm-hmm. And he came across as stupid. Yeah. Just to be honest about it, right? Well, and he was so much of a child. Yeah. And I like that he had
right off
a level of understanding. He understood his power.
Yeah. Right off the bat, like that opening with him and that scene where, you know, he sees that Iris is hit with the truck. Granted, we never actually know her name. We just
know it's Iris,
but watching his shoes explode.
Oh, that was so cool.
And then as he like bursts through the glass, you know,
I love that he actually broke the asphalt.
Yeah. You know, and that idea where you see it, that he's able to like just stop and look and think.
It's like time has stopped.
Yeah. And like but within that time has stopped, he's still moving like super fast. Mm-hmm. Right.
It shows how incredibly fast he really is.
Yeah. And I thought that scene was really cool, just how it really played out. You know, and seeing that, and it was just like, wow.
Well, and then I love the confidence that he has before and the confidence he shows right afterwards. Yeah. He's not all flustered and weird. Like, he went in there and he saved people, and he just totally rolled with it right afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, that was so cool.
And I love that he just rolled right.
Well, he took the time while he's saving her to think, wait, no, I should do something to explain.
How am I going to have a cover story? Yeah. Yeah. And I just thought that was just... That's what he should be, because it's not that he's just physically fast. His mind is also fast as well. Everything racing. About him is always moving a million miles a minute. And I thought that they portrayed that so much better. Yeah. And, you know, if he's going to have this fancy ass suit that he knows his power, he knows what he can do. And he didn't act like that. Yeah. He acted like he had never saved a single person. Mm-hmm. And they showed that he had, because he knew exactly what to do. This can't be the first time, because the way he held her to move her, you know, it's different to just
he folded her arms
to try to just catch her. Yeah, you know, but the physics of what it would mean when someone is going through that, you have to, you know, when she still got hit and is still having this force against her. And if you're going to change that direction, you got to make sure she can roll with that as well, or she's going to break her arm. And he thought about all of that. This cannot be the first time that he did it.
Exactly.
And that showed so much right there.
Yeah.
And that sold me right there.
As it progressed with that, his character, here, let's just talk about Flash.
Sure.
So let's go through and talk. Well, then we can maybe talk about each member.
We're dissecting the Justice League.
Yeah. So like, as you go on to the next like big action scene, then when they're fighting Steppenwolf and saving the people, because he's still trying to find that mother box, right? When they get them all outside finally, and then the part of the building explodes, and you've got that low shot of the people, and you just see the lightning and the silhouette. And you see like 30 Flash silhouettes,
right?
As he's trying to get all the pieces.
The pieces, yeah. Like, it looks like he's just teleporting.
Yeah. That was just friggin' cool.
Yeah. That looked like a scene from a comic.
Right?
Right? Where they would have had blurs of him all over the page to show that he was moving around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that was just like, damn, that's
opposed to in the theatrical, what he would have done, he would have just sat there and like waited for Batman to tell him what to do.
Well, that's what he did, Right? He saved one person in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so that idea where it was just really cool to see that burst, right?
Well, I like that he wasn't, when he met Wonder Woman, he stumbled for a moment, but there wasn't any overt weirdness between them two.
Yeah.
And
in that scene too, though, he didn't get a face full of titties.
Nope. Yeah.
So which was cool,
which was great.
He also the sword scene where he pushes the sword.
Oh, it was so much better.
It was slightly different.
Yeah.
Right. And it just seemed like he was focused and looked like he knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Right. Versus in the other where it was like, whoop.
It was more goofy.
Yeah.
Right? Where he was like, it was more of the dramatic of the getting up there, and then it's like, haha, look what I can do. Yeah. Versus like, I got this.
Yeah. It made his stumble.
He was quicker. He looked almost in the theatrical as if he was checking out Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
This one made it look like he was concentrating on the sword, there to help. Yeah. I caught this.
And that's why the stumble almost worked better in this cut, because it was like he was then having to go so fast to catch up to do it that he slipped up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And then having to turn and make sure you do that while still focusing, right? And so that was, it was so minutely different.
Yeah.
But it made an impact in the feel of the scene for sure.
Yeah. And then from that, we have the mother box scene. Mm-hmm. Also too, the mother box scene was the next kind of big Flash scene, right? And
I'm not going to pretend like as if I remember all of this, because
the fact that he says like we goes that fast, time starts doing weird
something gets weird when I try to go that fast.
And when we were watching it, the mother box hits the symbiotic Kryptonian goo, and both you and Kiddo were like, it's hit it, like what's going on? And it was so cool then to see that then time got weird. Yep. Right? And then he started reversing time.
And he pulled it back out of it.
Just in time to touch it, right? Uh-huh. And I was like, whoa. That moment was just kind of, cool. Yeah. To see that.
There's the importance of clear communication with things, though, because he said stop and he thought go or no or whatever. And it's like... And then once you started moving, I mean, now you're not going to stop anything. So, but yeah, I like that they showed the time, the times change there, which was really cool.
And then as you move on, when Superman comes back out and alive,
I love they still have the scene.
Yeah.
Of him finding out that Superman is also fast, because we had never seen Superman be fast. That was one of my favorite scenes of the theatrical that was in there, and I like that it was still there. So.
But then you had the moment where still you got to see how fast Superman is, because when the Flash goes to charge him, he slams in. Superman's able to dodge it, and he slams into Aquaman, right?
Oh, one thing that was not there, which we were happy that was not there, was when they, way back now, when they got to the Batcave, the Flash didn't go beelining around the Batcave, which was
hopping around,
unnecessary, like childish thing to do, right? Yeah. So that was another thing that I was missing that I liked. So, but yeah, that was interesting to then see the problem that can happen now with him making a plan and impacting other people around him, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then from that, we don't get him being a goofball in the final scene because
so much better.
All he did was save a truck of 4 people.
Yeah.
In the final movie there.
Can I also say how much I love that there was not a family in that whole city? Weird, because it was weird that there was people living there.
Yeah.
It was a nuclear fallout area, and
they had the very cartoony Bugby on.
Yeah, it was like it was not. Like, I know we were supposed to feel bad for them because they were kicked out of other places, and I understand that, but at the same time, there was no other people.
Yeah.
There was, that we saw, Superman had moved that building that it was apparently full of people, but who knows? So there was one building full of people and then one family on a truck. Sure. So I liked that it was just no one was there and they didn't have to focus on that, and it was just all the better for it. Because then Flash felt like he was a million times more useful. Yeah. Because he was actually using his speed and running around and doing all. I mean, he literally saved the day.
Yeah. Well, like you said basically, like, how are they going to, they never made a plan because they were always just assuming in the theatrical that Superman was going to be there to help pull the boxes apart.
Yes.
Right?
Because they would never have been able to if Superman hadn't been there.
So then the whole thing was to get Cyborg through a jolt from Flash. Yeah. So they had an initial plan, which was cool to see.
Which didn't involve Superman.
Right? Yeah, because he wasn't there.
Yeah.
But we get to actually see Flash fully reverse time.
Yes.
In a big way, which was pretty freaking cool.
That was
effects.
So cool. Well, because when
he saves the day, basically.
When everything started happening, right? When it all just blew up, and I was just like, holy crap.
It's crazy to think that how close it, though, could have potentially resembled Infinity War.
Yeah.
Right? They could have even ended it there as like that blip.
Yeah.
Right? Where time was erased.
Yeah.
Right? And then,
they don't even know how close it came to everything just being over, right? And that was pretty awesome to see just how fast he was moving then. And then again, this is also still showing though how well he knows his powers.
Right. Well, the fact that
he knows how well he has to how much he pushed to do all this. Yeah. I mean, he had just gotten shot, and he was in horrific pain. He's trying to heal himself. He hadn't eaten.
Yeah. But the effects on that was cool because as he ran, things were just going back.
It was so cool.
That was just super cool.
He was like, it was every step that he took, he was creating the world.
And when the people came back,
they rebuilt themselves. It was like there was a nuclear reaction almost where they got peeled down layers and they reformed back into these layers. Yeah. And it was like, that was a little graphic, actually. I'm impressed.
Yeah. That was super cool.
Yeah.
So all in all, like the Flash and the Justice League, I think was just friggin' awesome.
Yeah. I was much more satisfying.
He still was a bit goofy, but this cut redeemed him from being just a complete side useless character to being something that was
showed how smart he was.
Well, it gave so much development to it, right? Like you were just like, yes, like this is good. Like, okay, I get it. And I can get then where a sequel could potentially go because now he's fully realized he can turn back time.
Yeah. So. Well, and I like too, like when he went and visited his dad, we didn't have that weird scene with the prisoner and the drawing on his face and like all this unnecessary stuff that didn't help him. Like that wasn't helping.
It just made him seem more like a goofball. Like it was like to tie into the fact that his dad was like, he can't hold down a job, right?
Yeah, he just seemed like just messing around all the time, right? So I like that he was much more serious.
Yeah,
in stuff that actually really mattered.
Yeah.
So speaking of character development, who else had a much nicer, richer treatment? Cyborg.
Now you can see why Ray Fisher was pissed.
Oh yeah.
Because this movie it's pretty much Cyborg's movie in terms of development.
Yeah.
Because you actually get to see why he's angry at his dad.
Yep.
You get to see the trauma, the cause and the effect of
his change.
Yeah.
And his growth, how long he's actually been sitting around. Because that was one thing in the theatrical. I'm like, okay, so you're mad at your dad. I understand that it's that maybe that shock of, now you're just ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. But at the same time, for how angry he was and how just bitter and hateful he seemed, he just oozed irritation.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, he had no real reason when he switched over to trying to help out and be a hero.
Yeah.
It just was like, okay, so now we're doing this.
Yeah.
And he irritated me in the theatrical. He didn't care about
there wasn't enough of it there.
No. And this made it so much more smooth. You understand why his dad was never there for him and why it was so detrimental to lose his mom. And why...
And not only that, then you lose your mom, you pretty much, you've died.
Yeah.
And then the person that's not there for you brings you back to life for his own scientific reasons and grief.
Yeah, because he would never feel like you brought me back because you missed me and you loved me. It was like, you brought me back because you wanted to prove that you could do something.
Yeah. Right? It's Frankenstein.
Yeah, because everything that he always felt like, well, his science, his work was more important.
Yeah.
So that's, of course, what you would have seen. And, and he also blamed his dad for if he had not been there at the football. If he had been there at the football game, he felt like that accident wouldn't have happened. Mm-hmm. So, you have all these horrible, horrible feelings. And then, then you have the overwhelming input that you would have as this computer. Mm-hmm. And understandably, all sorts of problems with that. And then you find out how long he'd actually been a robot, though, and a cyborg sitting around too. He's stewing in this.
Yeah. Well, then too, the idea that we got more explanation of why he's so powerful.
Yes.
Right. And I think that helped, especially when you see the lights go down and things like that, as well as because he's connected to something. It was one of those moments where the theatrical was kind of like, well, you should know. Yeah. You should just know that he's powerful. And it didn't make sense, but this gave you the framework to be able to understand where his power came from the mother box with everything and blah, 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 blah.
Well, and I like...
To create,
Well, when his dad was talking about what power he does have and the fact that, he is also trusting his son to have the most power in the world, basically. He is the world's strongest computer. Mm-hmm. But he has to make a choice whether he's going to use it positively or negatively. Yeah.
Well, it was the idea that he's like, you could topple governments. You could topple the...
In a moment, you could shoot monetary, all of the nuclear... Yeah. You could take out all the currency. You could, all these insane amounts of power. Yeah. And you have to choose to be the hero or not. Yeah. And so it gave him, that reminder, though, that he still needs to have that humanity. Yeah. And that's the importance of it. He's not just a robot,
that was the key of why he then reached out to Wonder Woman.
Exactly. And I thought that gave it so much more. I like that he actually sought them out. Yeah. And it just that reminder that this is important to be able to have that connection and the creativity and that choice for things. And you could see him wanting to be a hero and finding a reason of wanting to help. And it made it so much more enjoyable because you're like, oh, okay, this feels natural. This feels like the way it's supposed to go. Yeah. And it was so much more beautifully done.
We got to see him tested his powers with his flying.
I like that he flies.
Right. And, it just really opened up the character more and made it so much more enjoyable. Mm-hmm. Kiddo said his favorite character of this cut was Cyborg. Yeah. Right?
And he did not like him in the theatrical.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was just like, he's not an enjoyable character at all.
Yeah. So it shows that you needed all that depth to really lift that character up because it's another one of those cases where it's a character that we had no introduction to in anything else except for these shaky security cam videos,
right?
That have no development, just him screaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not who he is at all.
Yeah, so it's the idea of like, okay, well, now we actually can have him be something. So it's just so much nicer. But, it's cool to see him. He was flying around. He was shooting things more. Mm-hmm. He was actually being a hero, especially in that final battle. It wasn't just there just to open up the mother boxes. He actually, was doing things with the other League members and all that. And, it was just
he actually was showing much more dialogue too was there. He actually talked more. He didn't just like scowl at people.
Yeah.
And his dad too. His dad was a much bigger character as well. And he was definitely a hero. I love that they showed up in the lab to do this stuff, and his dad, like, because he tripped the alarm.
No.
And he realized that it was fake. And then as soon as he saw what it was like, nope, we're clearing it all out. He didn't even question. And I was like, you know what? This here is showing that his dad was not an evil man.
Yeah.
Yes, he was consumed by work. Yes, he did not treat his son the way he should have treated him. Yeah. But he learned from that, though, and he had the second chance, and he was going to be there for him. And it was really touching to see that. Yeah. And well, even he was trying to make amends.
Even when they thought he was trying to destroy the mother box, and then they're like, well, no, he wasn't. He used the lasers and all that. Like they supercharged it, but then there was the etching on the glass. Yeah. Right. And
and then it supercharged it, so then they could track the heat.
Yeah. So it wasn't in vain. It wasn't just it
was so heart wrenching, but it was like, damn, he was smart. Yeah. And he was going to make sure that he helped out to that last moment. Yeah. And it was. You felt so much more emotion for Cyborg then with that.
Well, it's like Aquaman said, we're going to trust a kid that just lost his father in battle. Like, yeah,
exactly.
So
yeah, that was, it was just so, and he worked the final battle as well, working so much harder, trying so hard to push past and just do whatever it needed to be done. And I'm glad too that he asked for help when he needed to with Superman. Right. It's just, I can't even say enough good things about how much his story was improved. Yeah. And it was just so positive to see him, and it's just, they did a great job of giving a good introduction to that character now. Yeah. And you're like, okay, cool. I want him around. Yeah. I like him. Yeah. He's a hero, and he has a good reason to be. So. Yeah. Aquaman is the other one that got a better...
Yeah, you got a lot more ties. So you got a lot more understanding of where some of the things that he had in those scenes, where he got them. Yeah. Like the trident, why he had it. Yep. Why he had the costume. Because it didn't make a whole lick of sense how he just suddenly had that. Yeah. And
so they needed to say I had to go get something, and that was it. Yeah. Like they would have just like randomly given it to him just because he asked for it.
And then you also more understanding of why he knew where to go.
just little things like
because, that. Because, in the Aquaman movie, they clearly state that he's never been to a lot of these places because he's an outsider. Yeah.
But I like that he wasn't as bro and corny. He was more serious and more thoughtful. Mm-hmm. He wasn't so much of an outsider feel. Yeah. Just pinning the thought with Aquaman. The other thing with Cyborg and Flash, I like that they showed a bit more of a character development of a relationship and a friendship between them as well. And they actually were kind of looking out for each other a little bit. And at the end, then, when they have their little fist bump, it didn't feel so weird and awkward. Yeah. It felt more like an actual friendship thing because they had this connection of working together, making this, even at the last scene, they've worked together on a couple different things. And so it just felt a little bit more real. So just thought of that. No. But Aquaman, too, with this, he felt more supportive. He didn't feel so much of a...
he feels so much like a dick. Like
that's sort of
like because like you watch Aquaman in the movie, and he's so much softer in that movie. Yeah, right? And then you watch Justice League, and he was just so much like edgelord, like and
he actually was like mature. Yeah, in this cut,
you can see how they brought those things back into this cut that then tie into his own movie, which then really bridged that gap. And a lot of that confusion that came from that, especially when we watched that, we're like, what? How did he...
Well, you know what I loved, too, with the Aquaman, with a tie back to the movie, was... Because I thought it was weird. Okay, so the Amazons put up such a fight for the mother box. And the Atlanteans are like, sure, whatever, take the box. that's what it came across. It was just really Mera defending it.
Yeah.
They actually gave you a reason as to why there was no one there, was because Orm took all of them away, and he could care less about the box because he was determined to start this war otherwise. You're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
Not just a forgotten temple that they keep, like, degenerates at that they don't want.
Yeah, and I was like, what? So it was a 10-second line that helped explain and didn't make them look like a bunch of assholes.
Yep.
You know what? To the point where Aquaman was so different in this movie that, because we met Jason Momoa, and I know it's not, it's not even how he was in theatrical is not necessarily saying on his acting ability, but I was actually like, I'm actually really excited that we had met him because, like, that was one of those ones where it was a bit of a rush. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little regretful of it because it was a lot of money and it was the, oh my gosh, excitement at the end of the time. But I was watching this. I was like, yeah, I've met him before. I've met Aquaman. Yeah. Opposed to theatrical where I'm like, shit, yep. I spent a lot of money on meeting Aquaman. And, like, that was the difference between the characters to the point where I'm like, yeah, I really like him. Yeah. And it was a huge impact with that. He was just so much more enjoyable and likable as a character. Mm-hmm. Not having the lasso scene and stuff like that, where you didn't even realize how unnecessary it was until it wasn't there. You're like, oh, that was actually really okay that it wasn't there.
There was no sexual innuendos. Like, they weren't just it wasn't he didn't, 5 guys trying to hit on Wonder Woman,
right? He always looked like he was just trying to get in her pants. Yeah. It was just like he was the frat boy. Yeah. And this, he didn't come across that way. Yeah. He wasn't the creepy guy. Yeah. And it was so much nicer. Like, so much nicer. And he was strong, eh?
He seemed a lot stronger in this. Yes. Which was really cool.
He was much more badass.
And especially, he puts in one of those final killing blows to Steppenwolf at the end there. Yeah.
And it showed his trident was so much... I laughed, though, because he brought a trident to him. And it's like, yeah, well, it's totally worth it. Like, damn.
Just thinking of Anchorman right now.
Yep. I brought a trident.
Did you see him? He threw a trident. Killed a man.
Exactly. Just Aquamaning it. So yeah, that was awesome.
That was good to see. Yeah. Like, it was yeah.
And you know what? It also gave... The only weird thing that was added with the Aquaman was at the very beginning with the way too long drawn out singing.
That was that. Yeah.
That was. I was
and
like,
then when she sniffs his sweater.
When it first started, I was like, "Oh shit, is this how the movie's gonna be?"
Yes,
I'm not gonna lie. That made me very nervous.
The weird that scene is probably the weakest scene for me. Yeah, because it was like suddenly these I don't know, were they Greenlanders or whatever they are, This they were like a mafia almost, right? Like sitting on his Game of Thrones, right? We've got all this ice. Yeah, we've got this fish man. He does our business. You come here. What are you, suit boy? I don't know what it is, but we beat you.
I love that Bruce knew how to speak the language. Of course he did. Right. I was like, that was awesome.
Right. But yeah, no, that was a weird scene. Like they're singing, they're singing, like, oh,
it went on way too long. Yeah. If it had been a little bit of it, okay, fine. Where he kind of
it kept going.
The bit of the homage to like a god feel, right? Okay, I can understand that. But then it just kept going on. Yeah. You're like, this reminds me of that Midsummer.
Yeah, this was like
this is like a freaking cult going on here. We decided they're Aquaman groupies. Yeah, especially after she sniffed his sweater. And that
and you made a good point.
That made me worry.
He needs to stop wearing shirts because he just keeps throwing them. That
You're
is literally the ocean.
You take this shirt, you rip it off, you throw it in the waves, dude. You are not protecting the seas. You are strangling the fish and the birds and think of the poor dolphins that it was eating that. Yeah,
you just
disappointed.
Shirt gag the seal.
Don't wear a shirt, dude. Everyone will be better off for it. That was the.
But it was interesting though. The scene that was very Snyder-esque, that we were like, that's totally a Snyder shot, had white stripes on it in the theatrical cut, but the this cut was a lot more sad and depressing song. I don't even know who sung it.
Yeah, it was definitely emotionally deep.
Yeah, like it was definitely a lot more of like the, he's not happy with this. He's not.
It was a totally different tone.
Because the song was about being alone and things like that. Like,
well, because it all of that was a lot less of his ego was just cut in half.
Yeah,
and he didn't think he was the God's gift to the oceans, and the music reflected that. Though,
so it showed that he was
a lot more humble,
looking for a family, looking for a reason to be.
Yeah,
right.
And so it was a huge difference in general. The music
showed how music in the exact same. Nothing was different in that shot,
but it totally had a different feel.
Music can totally change a scene completely. You throw the E Thumper was like, that
right? Which, and it was totally fine. It was cool,
but it showed, but it was gave it more feel. Of a badassery.
Yeah.
Right, where this
one was so much more sad.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I think that was just an interesting vibe that can cast off of, right? So,
and as I say, overall, I think it worked out better for the character the way he was written in the Snyder cut.
So then now we've got James Gordon.
Of course.
Just the fact that, I would love to have actually seen more of J.K. Simmons as Gordon. I think he did a great job. He just looks the part. Yeah. Like, he just looks like the comic book.
He was just super calm and super in control. Yeah. And just like, I love his like, so there's more of you. Yeah. Huh. Okay.
How many more are there?
Like, we're just moving on now.
Yep. Okay.
He did a good job. I think that was a good casting for Gordon.
Yeah, I say like nothing was really different except for you see him throw his messages away.
It's kind of sad. I wish he had been in B vs. S since he had Gotham and everything like that.
Right.
More, right. So,
but it's just you wish there was more to it, right?
Yeah.
Wonder Woman
was stronger.
Yeah.
She was not as emotional.
Yeah.
She was much better.
She wasn't just a girl.
She was a warrior. She was,
they removed a lot of the lines that kind of caused even some problems with 84.
Yes. Right. I like that she didn't talk about that she pulled herself away for 100 years.
Yep.
She didn't talk about previously killing some sort of alien.
From other world.
She was much stronger in this. I liked, so is more of a group thing, but only because she was so much more emotionally involved when they were going to bring Superman back. So this whole round robin thing with them, just because this scene was a huge, important,
and it was a scene that bothered you. In the theatrical.
Yeah, in the theatrical. I like that and I know you would point it out too, that they were making a decision as a team.
Yeah.
They felt like this is a crappy situation, but this was the right thing to do. And I like that Wonder Woman wasn't sitting there saying we shouldn't do this. Mm-hmm. It was scary. I get it. I mean, it wasn't a decision that should have been made lightly by any means.
Yeah.
But she was too emotionally charged in this one.
Yeah.
To not understand that there's, she should have the hope and the wisdom and the warrior aspect to understand that this was the best logical choice to make.
Yeah.
And yes, Wonder Woman has emotion, but she is a balance between. It's almost the Trinity feel. She's almost the middle ground between Bruce and Clark.
Yeah.
And she was just being too emotional.
Well, you know what really,
and I like that she wasn't this way.
What really bugged me with the theatrical too was that, to me, I don't think Bruce would have ever been the one to say to bring him back by that means.
No.
Through everything that I've read with all the comics, he should have been the one that be like, no, this is impossible. We'll find another way. Right?
Yeah.
He would never have been the one to suggest to bring Superman back to life.
Because he would have known that the risk of him being broken. Well, think of the pits, the Lazarus pits.
Yeah.
He would have understood there would have been something like that where you come back and a piece of your soul's missing.
Yeah. So like that idea that I never even want to watch that original cut, even though he's in the original cut, he's like, it's for science, blah, blah. Like, Bruce would never have brought him back
Even for his own emotional means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
was too emotional in that as well.
He's seen how many people die in his career that he wouldn't have not have wished that on anyone, to come back without a piece of your soul.
Yeah.
Right. So at least this one, he wasn't so crazy about it and pushy.
Well,
right?
Because, quite honestly, they understood, they explained more of the science of the mother box. Mm-hmm. So the concept of energy, they had this whole round table conversation about energy and matter and transmutation and all this, where it wasn't just like, I need to undo my mistake.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Right.
And it's like, we're not going to have everyone just deal with your emotional guilt. Like, I'm sorry, but that's who you are. You have guilt. You can just suck it up and deal with it, And I like that they're, in general, you're right, with him too. And then with one of them, there wasn't that emotion on either side of the coin.
They were just looking for what was right for the world, because they were like, we need to stop this, because if we don't do this, there is no chance. Well,
and they understood the logic, the fact that everything was fine until the Kryptonian died.
Yeah.
And that was the bell that was rung, that woke everything up. Mm-hmm. He was the key to it. Bruce didn't seem so overwhelmed with him having had this fight and trying to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because it didn't show him knowing and trying to track all the parademons and knowing what was going on. Mm-hmm. He was right there in the midst with the rest of them.
Yeah.
And he knew that there was something that needed to be done and be brought together, but he was trying to learn from Superman the fact that, Superman was trying to move forward and have hope. Right. Yeah. And, it was such a different vibe, and they were all involved and they were all thinking the same thing. They were terrified of it, but understanding that it was the right thing to do. And, it was so much more cohesive.
Right. And then Wonder Woman gets to get the final blow. She gets to take out Steppenwolf completely.
Yes.
Make sure that he's not coming back.
Yes. Which was really awesome. That was just like, she didn't even hesitate.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, that's what she is.
Yeah. And that's what's been missing from her movies.
Yeah.
Her own personal movies.
Yes.
Right?
She's been too soft.
Yeah. And you know what? That was one thing that I noticed. So in that opening scene where they're in France and they're trying to stop that cabal from blowing up all that. The fact that they actually showed that she actually kills people.
Yep. She threw that guy against the wall and his head exploded. Like, there was a bloody dent in the wall.
And then when the guy picks up the weapon from him, he's in a pool of blood. Like, they definitely shown that these are gods among men.
Yes.
So when gods fight mortals, they die.
Yeah. Well, and because they make the extra commentary, though, the fact that she is stronger than all the other Amazons. Mm-hmm. She, Steppenwolf says, you have the blood of the elder gods in you. Mm-hmm. And he said that in the original and in the theatrical as well. But at the same time, it shows it more. Yeah. She still likes to hit her arms together and blow things up. I thought that was interesting. She blew up the whole freaking wall, and all the poor cops down there get all this brick rained down on them. Yeah. But again, it's just one more thing though of the gods among men. Mm-hmm. There's going to be fallout, basically. And
we get to see that actually in the scene where Superman headbutts her, she headbutts him back.
Yes.
He gets his bell rung more.
Yes, he stops. And
versus the theatrical, because he just pounds her in the theatrical. This here,
she fought back.
She fought back more, which was cool to see. Mm-hmm. And so then it showed him showing more of his dominance versus before.
I like when she when he hits her the second time, it was like the stay down, the alpha male thing going on. And it was like, it was very animalistic, leader. And I thought that was really interesting. But she actually does get a good hit in on him.
Yeah.
So, but in general, she was definitely stronger. She was more in control. I liked it a lot more.
Yeah. Batman.
Well, obviously not as emotional.
Yeah, right.
I still really loved Alfred. Still had that good connection.
Yeah,
I like how he says that he works for Alfred.
Yeah, this is Alfred. I work for him. Yeah.
I love their relationship.
Oh, it is completely the more realistic father and son relationship for Batman and Alfred. It's just hilarious to see, and it's nice to see that warmth that they have, that bantering.
Yeah.
Right. I got to see about the gauntlets that he created.
Oh yes,
to absorb energy.
Those were really important.
Right. We don't get Bruce lying on the ground going, something's bleeding.
Yeah.
Something's definitely bleeding.
Your favorite lines were missing.
Right? So that was really cool to see. It was really cool to see him. He was fighting a bit more in a lot of the scenes, especially when
when they're in the sewer
scene
under the bay there. Yeah, he was definitely flying around a lot more.
Yeah,
and at one point you're like, oh my god, I want more of this Batman.
Right? Like, no, I do. Like Affleck needs to come back. He needs to do a whole movie. He needs to do like 6.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right, like
because it was just he moved so much. He was punching things. He wasn't just.
He was kicking things, jump kicking.
I got to divert back to the fighting things with the Flash. It was kind of funny though because in the theatrical he had said he had just pushed things before, right? But I thought it was kind of funny. There was a few times where he ended up just trying to push things. Yeah. But it works okay when you're going at super speed.
But it was nice though because like so like I saw that too and I was like, so basically did Whedon watch this and then decide to make a joke of it more? Yeah. It was the idea.
It wasn't a joke. It was
so instead of saying it, then you just saw it, right? Yeah. And you saw that he didn't necessarily fight. He would just kind of knock things out of the way.
And yeah, you got to think.
And then that speed.
Why not? It would like you got punched.
Yeah, but if you imagine if you threw a punch at that speed,
oh yeah,
like you could
you'd go through something.
Like that could actually be more of a horror movie when you think about that. If Flash just
he goes through and he punches,
it would be like The Boys. It would be like The Boys.
Yeah, where you just have a hole in you.
Yeah. Then he blows up Huey's girlfriend.
Yeah.
When
you're right. It would. That's exactly what it would be. You're right. Yeah, that's what it would look like. So he does need to just push people because otherwise they would just disintegrate.
He always just gently kind of nudges things, right? Yep. Versus, if he punched someone, their whole jaw would be in Idaho, So...
Batman was actually fighting.
And then even when in the final battle, just seeing him fight the parademons more, he was basically the only one fighting the parademons, and everyone else was dealing with Steppenwolf.
Well, he used the Batarang a lot more too,
and the grappling
hook, and
so
flying around more with things. Yeah, and he didn't look so old. Mm-hmm. They made more commentary on how he was basically getting too old for this shit type thing. Yeah. Even with that line, with him being things being broken and bleeding and everything, and he didn't complain. He just kept going.
There was never a moment in this one that it made it feel like he was getting too old to be the Batman. Yeah. He was just like, I'm doing this. Yeah. Right. So the only thing we did notice, I noticed at the end for the final scene, when he. At the very, very end, where we get the cameo from the Manhunter, you can tell that Affleck's a lot more lean.
He was much smaller.
But you can tell that was like, I don't know when that was filmed, but you can tell though the way he was moving. When he was walking, you saw him like noticeably like put his shoulders back.
He was trying to look bigger.
Yeah. So
he looked a little awkward when he was walking.
But he looked so much younger. Yes. Right? By not having so much of the weight on it.
Yeah, when you have the bulk of you're also gonna have it in your face, right?
So I thought that was interesting. Do you want to talk about the nightmare scene?
Sure.
So then we also get another nightmare scene, which proves that there should be a sequel. We hope, we want, please.
We need.
Otherwise it's like the worst cliffhanger ever.
The foreplay was so good. Don't leave us hanging.
So we get another nightmare scene. Yeah. And in that, the other thing with that is we get Batman swearing, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
I'll fucking kill you.
Let's see, there was 3 F-bombs. Kiddo said he only remembered 1. I want to know which one he remembered.
Yeah. But it was funny because when I was talking to him, I was like, okay, so, because he was dead set. He's like, I'm watching this. I'm watching it. I don't care what you guys say. I'm watching it. I'm like, well, it is rated R. Like, let me look it up first. And I was like, okay, there's 3 F-bombs and there's stylized action, science fiction, violence.
And blood, apparently.
Blood, yeah. That's code for blood.
Yeah.
There was no sex and there was no other real swearing. And when I said there was 3 F-bombs, he was like, Dad, I hear more of that on the playground.
Right, which is true.
I know that word. Yep. I'm like, do you use that word? He's like, no. Well, okay, I've used that word. It's like, really? And he's like, well, like that one time I read it when we were watching that movie, and I said it a lot. I used that word. I was like, okay.
This movie had the theatrical had more uncomfortable sex stuff than this would have.
There was no sex in this at all.
No,
like it was.
But yeah, so Nightmare World, which is just a premonition of the future, essentially, is really what it is.
Yeah, it has not really fully understand if he's he's seeing the future. It kind of
feels like this is Bruce's nightmare world.
Yeah,
where he's all of his fears are kind of coming to life. That's what I kind of get from it, especially with this. What happened with the exchange between him and the Joker? Yeah, which I loved.
So that scene was filmed. That's the reshoot. Yeah. That scene is the reshoot. So Snyder, in the grand scheme of things, when they offered to do this cut, he didn't take any pay for it. He just wanted 100% creative control. Mm-hmm. He wasn't supposed to reshoot anything. He was just supposed to use the money that they gave him, the $70 million, to do new effects and stuff like that, and change and get it put together. New music, new effects, finish the CG, that kind of thing, put it together. Yeah. And so he wanted to do more, apparently, with the Nightmare realm, and he called up Affleck and Leto and was like, I got an idea for a scene. The studio doesn't really want me to do it. We can do it in my backyard or my basement, like you guys game. And they were like, sure, why not? We'll come over, we'll film it. Mm-hmm. And then the studio, I guess, got wind of it, and they were like, okay, there's a small space. Do it properly.
So they didn't have to do it in his backyard.
Yeah. Don't have Ben Affleck standing in LA in your backyard in the bat suits. Like, don't do this.
They're like, holy crap, I can smell the lawsuit now.
Right? The paparazzi would have had a field day with that. Right? It's just been like, no, it's my kid's birthday. My cousin's nephew's dog's
said
best
Affleck and Leto didn't take pay either, right? So that was probably a huge thing for them. They just didn't want to pay the actors for it. So
right? Yeah, right. They didn't want to pay anyone to do it.
They're like, well, okay. We just want to keep this under control. So come on in here. So
okay. So I'm going to say right off the bat, though, because I know a lot of people, they don't like Leto's Joker. And you know what? I don't like the look of Leto's Joker from Squad.
I love the way he acts.
The way he acts. Because my definition of the Joker is a Joker should be someone that isn't terrifying looking, but does terrifying acts, but at the same time says things that make you laugh, only to have you go, why did I just laugh? Yeah. Right? And
he's smart.
Even in this scene, he has a couple of those moments where you can genuinely laugh at what he's saying. Yeah. And then you're like, I shouldn't be.
And where he's like, wow, he's making sense. Yeah. He actually, my favorite line that he said was that Batman was too chicken shit basically to die himself. Yeah. So that's why Lois has to die. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that was like mind blowing. Mm-hmm. Because I think that would be something that either Batman is afraid of, or something that's legitimately true. Yeah. He doesn't want people to die, but he also doesn't want to die himself, and he won't take that sacrifice. That is kind of
because he also sees himself as the protector. So unless he's going to die in battle that he has no control over, then he's not.
He has to keep living, right? And so it was interesting with that. I love that. Really stood out to me. So
and I love that the Joker calls him his best friend, and who's going to give you those reach arounds, right?
Oh, that was fun with kid. I was like, what's that?
And that made me crack up. Like that.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious, right? It was just like, and the fact that he called him Bruce, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Bruce and talked about the death of Robin. Yep. And
parents and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. Like he's
so that shows more that it is most likely Bruce's psyche. Yes. Right.
Especially with it. But you know what? Honestly, I wouldn't put it past the Joker knowing exactly who Batman is and not doing anything about it.
But we know in this world, though, we get that lovely scene with Lex that was the post-credit scene of Justice League Theatrical, where Luthor has escaped and Deathstroke the Terminator shows up. And this time around, we don't get we're going to get our league of our own. Mm-hmm. There's no crime and super villainy. We get that Luthor is telling
Deathstroke
who the Batman is. Yes. And Deathstroke knows that he's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, so that's, now you have two big baddies knowing his secret identity.
Right. So
at least it's not brand new. It's still been 20 years of him being Batman, at least.
So then flash forward to this Nightmare Realm. Bruce has a kinship with Deathstroke.
Yeah, because Deathstroke is there
in the Nightmare Realm with a lovely mohawk.
Oh yeah,
I dig it.
I liked when Bruce got all angry and was telling him that Harley. As Harley died in his arms, she basically told him to make sure that Joker, kill him and make him suffer.
Yeah.
And all this hateful anger towards him. Mm-hmm. And, knowing that it's the same Harley, essentially from Harley Quinn from Birds of Prey, then you can see why she would have been so angry about him. But when Bruce is saying this, Joker's face looked hurt and worried and sad. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of corrects himself and it's like,
and then laughs right in his face.
You almost had me there. Yeah. And it was so poignant to see that, because that's the thing with Joker and Harley is he loves to hate her.
Yeah.
And it's that, but he
I need her, but I don't need her, but no one else can have her.
Yeah. And it's such a messed up relationship where, the idea though, as much as he doesn't have her and he probably was pushing her away, the concept though for his own selfish ego that she's not supposed to hate me. Yeah. She's supposed to need me and love me and do everything for me. And for her to say that, I don't believe you, and Leto did such a good job of portraying that with just his facial expression. Yeah. Right?
And that's the thing that's interesting. Like if you go back and watch Squad, if you don't necessarily look at his Joker, if you listen to him, the way he talks and the way he even laughs in some of his scenes and just the way he says things, it reminds me more of what I want to see a Joker as. Yeah. Right. He's so, because in a lot of the scenes in that movie too, 1 minute he's scary and 1 minute he's goofy. Yep. Right. And that's really what the goofy. Yeah. He should be, flip floppy. This marks the first time an actor has ever played the Joker twice.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
So there's a,
you know what? I really like him. Like, I don't like his grill and I don't like his face tattoos, but the grill, at least they could try to have it, there's an idea for it. You could do
come out and you could just have regular teeth.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people have accessories all the time in reality. So it's just the face tattoos, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, it's
laser surgery. He cut his face off once and then magically came back anew. So
right there you go.
There's lots of ways.
So I think
I would love to see Affleck and Leto together in a movie.
Oh, me too.
In a full out brawl.
Yeah.
I
would love to be able to see the early on before Suicide Squad, what Harley Quinn talks about of her little history lesson for herself and talks about, that she was starting her crime spree, then got caught by the Batman.
They should do the death of Robin.
They need to do the chunk of time there when Harley and Joker are together and Batman beforehand and the death of Robin.
Because they Swiss Squad awesome. And this, they're saying that Harley and Joker were together in Robin's death. So do that story.
Yeah.
Do that story.
That's what I want to
show the Batman, show the thing that broke the Batman.
Yeah.
And made the Joker the way he looks in that movie.
Yeah. I don't want to see future Harley Quinn.
Right.
I don't need to see more of that because I've read it in the comics and it's really boring really fast.
Well, we get to see her in James Gunn's Squad, which will be interesting to see how that's.
I don't know how that's going to be. That's going to be trippy.
So but there should be something soon because the hype of this have now moved on to the next, right?
Yeah.
So,
but so I like that scene. I liked it with the Joker. Yeah, like that. So, and you made a comment though. Now back to the Martian Manhunter showing up. Mm-hmm. So he had shown up earlier on in the movie when poor Lois is having a hell of a time with her grief, and in the theatrical it was
she was back at work.
Yeah, she was back at work much more okay, and she was just totally destroyed in this. And then Martha had showed up and talked to her and had this weird banter in the theatrical. Thirsty. So creepy. And in this, Martha shows up at her apartment and has a very emotional discussion with her about coming back to the living, and needing, and it was very symbolic for the fact that, you know, with the death of Superman, it was the death of hope for the world. And, you know, Lois was part of that representation. And I don't, you know, there is true symbolism in the fact that she needed to decide to go back to work, and then Superman was brought back. Mm-hmm. You know, yes, they were not played together, but there is symbolism in that. And the fact that she was stepping forward and letting go and going back to the light, to the land of the living, and then Superman was able to be brought back.
Yeah.
And I like that. But it turned out it wasn't Martha. It was actually Martian Manhunter, who was actually the guy from the military there. Yep. So how long has he been around running the show? And I thought that was like, whoa!
Super John Jones. Right?
Super. And he looked really cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
like, really cool design. I mean, he was fully green. Like, it was no questioning who he was.
Yeah.
You know, he had the cape, the red eyes, like you know, when his eyes went red, I was like, holy crap, what is that?
Yeah.
You know, and then he just melted away and the cape fell. I was like, oh my God, that's so awesome. So that was really cool. And yeah.
But the only thing that's sad, though, is he never joined the League.
Yes, there was not that.
So, like, that would have been cool because then you would have had 7 members.
Yeah.
Like the traditional 7-member Justice League.
It could have been so simple too, right? Having him show up. You know, even if that end scene when he showed up to talk to Bruce, even if it had been like, you know, I accept your invitation, or, you know, what up? Let's join forces.
I hear you got more chairs at that table.
Yeah, you got room for more, right? So, and you know, or, you know, that would have been actually something interesting when him and Diana are there talking about this round table, and you know, room for more. Oh yeah, I have a member in mind or something, you know, and something along those lines would have been cool to actually have. But, you know, that's a very minor complaint amongst all of that.
Well, because like the idea that was the League's always had at least 7 members. There's always been Lantern or Manhunter, right? So
we got to have one of those, right? So
that's what you would hope then, that if there was ever a sequel, it would have gotten, you know.
Well, it was cool too. So the whole thing with Steppenwolf. Here, let's finish up with Lois. Because that was so different. It showed then her. I liked how she had brought that coffee to the cop that was always at the memorial there. And
who, by the way, was apparently the guy that played Jimmy Olsen in the original Superman.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. And then, so it was a little bit more organic of why, well, it was a lot more organic why she was there, that Bruce didn't actually go and get her in the, you need to come and calm Superman down type thing. Yeah. Like, he hadn't actually thought about that. Yeah. Which was an interesting shift for something like, you know, obviously he probably could have at some point thought about it. But
see, you know, it also made more sense that, like, in the theatrical, like, because when Kid was like, you know, it was, you know, it's funny that he was like, call the big guns. If Bruce had done it, if it had supposed to have played out that way, that he had always had in mind that he was going to bring her in, he would have brought her in earlier. He wouldn't have had that much destruction, even in theatrical.
He would have had her there, waiting for him.
It would have been just like the push.
Yeah.
Look.
Remember? She would have been the first thing he saw. And that's what it should have been.
Yeah, that's
that made more sense that it was after the fact, like, oh shit, we got to calm him down.
Yeah. And this was more like she was already there because that was her habit. She showed up at that time every day.
She saw him, right?
Yeah.
She was down. Yeah. She was farther away, but all of a sudden she saw him. So then she came over. And so that, I think, I enjoyed that better. And it had a better layup for that to explain it. It doesn't feel so choppy, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, when I also liked that we didn't have just the way they explain the history of Steppenwolf. I liked that she, you know, there was more to it with the Amazons when he showed up, and he fought them. That whole battle scene when the mother box was being taken, it felt a lot more emotional. was so much more emotional and so much more of a leader and caring queen, because it wasn't like, oh, okay, well, shit's going down, I'm just going to close this
seal
thing
you guys all
later.
It was her warriors screaming, seal it, we got
and
this.
She looked so distraught and making that hard choice. I also like that they didn't just, take this, what was supposed to be this protective tomb, and blow the wall out in a moment, and it was all for naught to lock them in. It actually fell into the ocean, and it was much more emotional to have something like that where like, shit, no, they are dead.
Yeah.
Like before it was like, oh yeah, they can all get out now. Okay, we're good. And he was terrifying. Like that was a bust onto the scene and cause some shit.
Yeah.
And that was definitely scary. And so then when the whole ceremony of when they sent that arrow, first off, now we know why it was able to fly from Themyscira to Athens.
Oh, I'll even go back. The arrow that they shot that is tied together on the mother box.
Oh, yes, that too. Was
now
Artemis.
Had effects added to it to show that it was like
and that was
powered up, not just like they're randomly able to shoot like arrows that strong.
Super strong arrow, right? Yeah, I thought that was really cool that it was actually a blessing of Artemis. Yep. And then with the arrow, it was actually a magical object of Artemis's arrow, and with a blessing on it. And she, when she had said, show her the reasoning for this type thing, and there was I liked being able to see that mythology in there. Yeah. And so then when she does go and find it, she goes down to these ruins. And so you actually see that connection to the ancient Greeks. And that just made me so freaking happy.
Well, because you get a lot more out of that scene, because it turns out that it wasn't Steppenwolf that attacked. It was actually Darkseid.
Yeah.
Before he was Darkseid, whatever his name is supposed to be when he was younger. Right? Xur is something. I can't remember what it is.
It was just young Darkseid.
Yeah. But that idea that he tried to conquer Earth before and now they're trying again, right?
Yeah.
And versus it being Steppenwolf all the time, right?
Yeah.
But in that scene, you get to actually see Ares, you get to see Zeus,
you see Artemis, and they're so big, and you actually see. I know they kind of briefly showed them in their
but
scene
they showed more power, right?
Yeah. Well, and to see Ares, he's the one that actually got the blow into Darkseid that make him run away. Takes his giant hammer and chucks it into his neck and his shoulder, and I was like, that was brutal. And like, he should be the one that would have been able to make the most damage. And that was just so freaking awesome. Yeah. And to see them all battling together, and to see that they, it was the Amazons before they were on their island, before they had been wronged, and so they looked different, and that scene was just so much more epic feeling. You got to see the Green Lantern again too with that, but you had all of that going on, and the Atlanteans were so much more powerful too. To see the power of the Trident, you got to see it there, and then when Aquaman used it, then you saw just how powerful it was. It was a magical object, and it was very much of a source of leadership and power for them, right? So it was just so much more poignant with all of that.
And Steppenwolf himself was more of a threat. He felt more terrifying.
Yes.
He felt more evil.
You even gave a much more of an understanding as to what he was doing.
Yeah.
And why he was doing this.
Yeah.
And, and you had more of the connection to Apocalypse with him talking to Desaad, was it? Mm-hmm. And then ended up talking to Darkseid. Yeah. And, you have those connections with things. And
then you find out that they need to find the anti-life equation.
Yes.
So then it's even more like why they need to get to Earth, which is even more awesome.
Yeah.
And more into the DC mythologies.
I know you were sad the Darkseid didn't actually come out and battle anyone, but it shows then that it was because he knew he couldn't win anything, so he didn't even try.
Yeah, well, because he's going to bring his armada, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like...
You're sad. It's like...
but there needs to be another movie.
Where is Darkseid showing up to find the anti-life equation? And
to because honestly, when they said
Martian Manhunter knew about that too, so then it was the idea where and then he would have been able to fight with them. And
so it's like the idea was like, okay, this was a 4-hour movie, but it was still just it would. I don't want to say it was the same movie that we saw with the theatrical, but it's the same story.
Yes,
just
much more expanded.
Yeah, it's kind of like. The theatrical cut's kind of like just like the weird nerdy kid, and then this is like where you find out 10 years from then that he actually got jacked and is pretty cool. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's my best explanation of it. We were like, oh, there's more to you. We just thought you were kind of just like, you know, now you're like, wow.
You were just the creepy nerdy kid.
You know, so it's different, right? Yeah. But you know, so that, and I thought when they talked about Darkseid, I thought he was actually going to come out and battle in this. I thought we were going to be like the first 2 hours are going to be very similar to the Justice League, and then the second half was going to be more like Darkseid. I never expected that it was going to be 4 hours
of
around
the original story,
the basic plot, right?
Yeah. But we got to see Granny Goodness on Apocalypse.
Yeah, she's in there
that
too.
That was pretty sweet.
So then that then goes, well, if there's a sequel, like, does that mean that we'll see Granny Goodness and her femmes, like could there be more? Like how big could this battle be?
Yeah.
Right? Desaad's team, Parademons, that was weird. Something just fell.
Something
that was terrifying.
Just fell on the shelf. That was so scary.
I wonder what it was, though. Huh.
We'll have to investigate later.
Wow, that's terrifying.
Okay.
But so there's like so much that could be in a sequel if it ever happens. Like, that's what's wild. One character we have not touched upon, you know, that's in the Justice League is Superman himself.
Yes.
So Superman does not have his weird facial CG.
He doesn't have his invisible caterpillar.
And what's all pretty awesome too is that, you know, they decided to give him the black suit, and he gets that from his ship. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, the interesting thing that is that I read that the black suit is actually decolorized of the colored suit. Mm-hmm. Schneider originally wanted to have him bearded, long hair in the black suit. WB had vetoed that originally at the very beginning of it all. Yeah. So it was the idea that he still filmed everything in colored, and then they decolorized it and made the silver and black for this cut.
Oh, okay.
So,
I liked it. I thought it was kind of cool.
Well, because it also makes sense, right? Especially because they get to see that scene, and that's the idea. The black and silver suit is a recovery suit. Mm-hmm. The original comics, when he dies, he gets taken to the Fortress of Solitude and is put in a black and silver suit. And the black and silver suit is so he can absorb more of the sun's radiation because his cells were still so beaten down. Yeah. So we get a kind of a hint of that. The moment he gets the suit, he flies up into the space and
he sucks up all the UV.
Yeah, before he goes into battle, right? Yeah. So, but when he comes back, you know, into that scene right off the bat, like the first thing he does, Steppenwolf is going to go bring the axe down on Cyborg, and
he
the
steps
axe
right there and hits Superman.
You know, it hits Superman, and then that's when we get Superman blowing his freeze breath and shattering his axe.
Yeah, that was so cool. He didn't even question it. There was not weird like quippiness or anything. It was just like, "Yep, I'm taking you out."
And like that was pretty awesome. But you did kind of see Superman's brutality though, because like when he had Steppenwolf on his back, he was pounding him, out of him, and then he lasered off one of his horns. Yeah, like that was.
He was.
You could tell he wasn't all right in there. Yeah. Like he was just like, oh shit.
Well, it was like, I got to get back to my life right now. So let's just get this done with.
Yeah. My wife has been missing me. I've been gone for a while.
We need to wrap this up catch up quickly. On.
This is, I have other things that I need to pound. So.
Yeah. So, that was definitely, they took him out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like though the other thing too when Cyborg is he yells to Superman to help him with the boxes. Superman is so reactive. Yeah. Knows exactly what to do, and they don't go flying off on the floor and like make some weird humorous joke. It was just like,
I'd rather be dead.
You know, that because so much more of the battle, that was like the last little bit. It wasn't the only thing that they were doing, right? Because Cyborg had already been in there. He'd already been causing a separation. Mm-hmm. He had done so much of that heavy lifting that the separation was just
a push.
Yeah, it was just a push, right? Yeah. So it didn't need to have the blowback that the theatrical had. Yeah. So I understand the reasoning why that would have been there in the theatrical because it had to show
but it didn't need the joke.
But it was a weird joke, yeah. So I like that it wasn't there. I also like that there was not the weird like terraforming of weird plant life that showed up. That it was just
wasted CG.
Yeah. Right? Exactly. So
that's one thing that I was going to say. I forgot now. The whatever fell scared me.
Something about Superman in the recovery suit still? That's what we're talking about?
No. I don't know.
Okay.
It'll come back to me some point.
Okay.
But you know, all in all, like this, as much as it was 4 hours, it made my little DC heart happy because we've had so many disappointments from DC in general. Oh, that's what it was. There was hope in this movie.
What the?
Right off the bat with Wonder Woman telling the girl that's a hostage when she's like, can I be like you?
Yes.
You can be anything you want to be. That was a fantastic moment where Wonder Woman gave hope.
That made me actually, you told me that and I started tearing up.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I got all goosebumpy and I'm like,
that's what those heroes should be. Those heroes should be hope.
Well, and the difference that I was missing for her in all her iterations is the fact that she's so disconnected from humans.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about her is she's supposed to, you know, Bruce or Batman himself is completely disconnected.
Yeah.
Superman is a little overwhelmingly separate.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman is supposed to be that bridge between the gods and the mortals. She's supposed to be that in between. And she was so disconnected. And that moment of humanity right there that she has where she makes the comment and she's so uplifting and positive. And yeah, that just set such a great tone. And when you said that, I was just like, I got all misty eyed with it. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, you know?
Right.
So, because she's just kind of cold in the others, right? So, yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. So, you know, I was super happy. It just makes me want more. It actually did something that not a lot of comic book movies make me want to do. Go back and look at some of my comics, some of my graphic novels. Like seeing the even though it was not exactly the black and silver suit, it just made me want to go back and read The Death of Superman again. Yeah. And to see that, like the Return of Superman with that suit in it, because like then I was like looking online and I was like trying to look up because Mayfex has the comic version, but it's like $104 US. Oh wow. And I was just like, so then I like look at the McFarlane and it's like, it's the movie one, but like, but, and then you get Steppenwolf and you can put them in that scene. It would just look awesome. So not impressed, right? Like, so, but I liked it. I had a great time with it. I'm looking forward to watching it again. I made sure that we recorded it on our PVR because it showed up on one of our movie stations through the app.
Well, Kiddo wants to watch it again already.
So, and I want to watch it a couple times. I want to see, you know, if the glossy veneer peels off,
because there's so much of it to unpack too. Yeah. And, you know, obviously.
See, I said we needed to watch it again and do a 4-hour commentary of it.
You're going to get me in trouble now.
And Katie vetoed that. So you could add 4 hours of us talking about Justice League over top of it that you could have played over it while you watched it. Now, if you want that, message me and maybe I'll do it myself.
Yeah, Mike's going to do a watch.
But I need to know now because I'm still on spring break. So
it needs to be this week.
So, because, you know.
Because otherwise it's going to be a long weekend for him to do.
And that would be pretty awesome to just sit there and I'll talk about everything.
Yeah.
I don't know what it could be. It could be completely weird. It could be inappropriate. It could be rambles.
I think most people would want some of it to be inappropriate if it is possible.
But if you want to hear, if you ever want to hear a commentary from us, let us know about any movie.
Yeah.
You know, well, not any movie because you know, that'd be kind of weird. Something we've never seen before or like that. But, you know, 4-hour Justice League Mike commentary, you know, you could be like,
you know what? Like, okay, so
we could be like best buddies. I'll get a case of beer, some popcorn, and we'll talk about it. And it'd be like, you can listen to me while you watch Justice League. And
I think the only way you should do that is if you do a video.
No, that's weird and awkward. Because then I gotta wear pants.
No, you got to have it so that it's like you're sitting down together and watching us.
But that's what headphones in.
Oh, so you'd be like, right, they're whispering in their ear.
Yeah.
Okay. This thing's got weird no matter what happened.
No, it would be
because now they're just going to imagine you're sitting in their ear without pants on.
That's what it's like when you come over. The sofa's got no pants. No, it's got pants. The sofa has pants. We call him, you know, Juan Lopez. And he's got little eyes. And
I think it's time to wrap it up because he's gone crazy right now. It's only been an hour and a half, and he wants to do 4 hours of talking about this.
I think that would be fantastic.
This is how he is an hour and a half.
No, it would be 4 hours if I was drinking. This could be an amazing podcast.
You know what, we could have some, you know, fun. I can't remember the word now.
Oh yeah, you're done after an hour. Anyways, you know what? Thank you guys.
Substances is the word I guess I'd be looking for. Well, overall,
it was worth it. I was like really happy.
Yeah.
So
it made my little fangirl heart happy.
Yeah.
So let's go watch it again.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So stay rad, dudes.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. Want more rad content? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review.
And remember, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes!